Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on tonight for week 4 of a Bible series that we're calling Leaders in Troubled Times. Leaders in Troubled Times. We are grateful for all of you all being here on tonight. We thank you for your patience. We're running just a little bit behind on tonight, but we will have a wonderful time as we move forward. On tonight. A couple announcements I wanted to make. Next week, the book of Esther, as we do trivia night, throw down in the chat or make your phone calls or your text message. Request Pastor Manuel to be your host, right? We're kind of throwing that on his shoulder. Dude will be here also. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, trivia night next week will be the book of Esther. Please come and join us. We're still going to have a good time. I will be out of town, but I will be joining in. I will be looking on the stream, and I will be joining in on the fun and all that type of stuff. So looking forward to everybody. Go tell a friend, and so they can tell a friend, so they can tell a friend. Also, yesterday was the first day of fall, so I'm feeling some type of way. I'm feeling real fallish right now. You can't see it, but leaves are falling all around me. All the brown leaves and the orange and all the different colors are falling around me. But so I'm excited about that. I'm hoping everyone is going to have a wonderful fall season. Hopefully we get some cooler weather. We start to get to wear our beanies and our scarves and all of that type of stuff. So we're excited about that also. Again, we're in a Bible study series called Leaders in the Time of Trouble. And we're going to finish off this series on tonight it's been in the book of Judges. And tonight we're going to talk about a real famous judge. I was explaining it to someone earlier who's not really familiar with the Bible. And one of my coworkers, he was asking me what I was teaching and talking about on tonight for Bible study. And I told him we're talking about Samson. And I thought that everyone knew Samson. I thought we just knew that everybody just knew the name out of, in the Bible, there's Jesus and then, there's Samson. I figured everybody had an understanding, at least had a little reference to who Samson was. But he did not. So I began to break down Samson to him. And I was letting him know that as a child, we had to, I don't know if y'all remember that little Bible, that picture Bible before the one we have now. That new picture Bible that we have, like graphic novel Bible. Before that one came into play, there was this other little small, like children Bible. And the story of Samson was titled Samson's Secret. I don't know if anybody remember that. It was a little Bible. My dad and my mom, they bought it. I don't even remember that little Bible. I don't know if it was a Bible, it was a book, something like that. But it had all the Bible stories. But I always remember that title from a child. And it was always, anytime I talk about Samson, I always think about that title, Samson's Secret. And so if you're not familiar with Samson, we're going to run through. He is another judge, but he is a little different as we've been talking about leadership and we've been talking about just being confident in ourselves, being confident in that God loves us. God is there for us. God is there to strengthen us. He's there to guide us, and that we are leaders in emotional states. We're leaders in our personal lives. We're leaders in our professional lives. We're also leaders spiritually. And so as we've been talking about that all month long, as we talk about Samson, we have a lot of scriptures, but I want to read them because Samson is a fun book to read. Just simply as that. Like I can read all these scriptures and you will get everything that you need to hear out of Samson. But I took some tidbits here and there. So we're jumping to the book of Judges, the 13th chapter, the 14th chapter, and the 15th chapter. 13, we'll read from 13, we'll read from 15, and we'll read from 16 on tonight. But we'll jump into that. I'm titling this on tonight. Week 4 will be Samson, Strength, Struggle, and Spiritual Leadership. Also can be titled The Flawed Deliverer. That's another title that I want to give it, The Flawed Deliverer. So coming from Judges, the 13th chapter, the first verse through the 5th verse, reading from the New Living Translation. Again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight. We've heard this before. This is like the beginning line of how we know a judge is on the way. So the Lord handed them over to the Philistines, who oppressed them for 40 years. In those days, a man named Manoah from the tribe of Dan lived in the town of Zorah. His wife was unable to become pregnant, and they had no children. The angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and said, even though you have been unable to have children, you will soon become pregnant and give birth to a son. So be careful. You must not drink wine or any other alcoholic drink, nor eat any forbidden food. You will become pregnant and give birth to a son. And his hair must never be cut, for he will be dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. He will begin to rescue Israel from the Philistines. So it has already been promised that Noah is going to basically be another judge. Noah is going to allow the people of God, allow the children of Israel to come out from underneath the bondage again of another oppressor. Again, we're talking about the Philistines. The Philistines never go away, and I want to kind of point that out as something that we all face, and we continue to bounce back and forth. There's something in our lives something that we struggle with, something that continues to rear its ugly head, something that continues to come back and forth. We go to God and we feel like we're delivered, but then it finds a way to creep back in. And if we don't surrender everything to God, if we don't surrender it all and let it all go, those things continue to come back, and they continue to come back and fester. And the Philistines were that festering thing that continued to cause pain and suffering and all kind of heartaches and trials and struggles and all type of tribulations for the people of God. Verse 24 in chapter 13, it said, when her son was born, she named him Samson, and the Lord blessed him as he grew. So the story of Samson, as we've gone to this point right now, Manoah and his wife have basically spoke to the angel of God, and they have gone back and forth to clarify, say, is this really going to happen? Am I really going to have a son? And the angel of God lets them know that you will have a son, and that, and this is what you must do. You must not take any wine. It even goes down and break it down even more and say you must not have any grapes nor raisins. Don't even have anything in the form of wine, because I am going to dedicate this child. He is going to be the one that is going to deliver you out of the hands of the Philistines. He is going to be dedicated. He is going to be the one that I've chosen. And I want us to realize and see that God has already chosen Samson before he's done anything. Before he's a child, he was a regular human. He was not Jesus. He was not the Son of Man. He was not the Son of God. He was just a child being born, and God had already chosen him and already spoke something over his life and said that I'm going to be with him, and I'm going to allow him to bring you all out from underneath the thumb of the Philistines. So it's already been. So they made sacrifices to God and thank God for what he was getting ready to do. And so then Samson is born. Moving on to verse. So in chapter 14, as I break this down real quick, like I said, because Samson has like the longest, as we talk about judges, Samson, and they break down the story of Samson. That's why I think people know about Samson, because everybody else is getting like a chapter, half a chapter. Samson's getting like 4 whole chapters where they're breaking down his lifestyle. So in chapter 14, we're not reading those verses, but as a breakdown, Samson is now grown older, and now Samson desires to marry someone outside of his race, someone outside that is not. He's a chosen by God, but here it is. He's found someone who he thought was gorgeous. He thought she was pretty, and he was like, I want her. His parents tried to talk him out of it, but yet he decided, nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to talk to this lady. I think she is attractive. So what he does, he goes ahead and he marries this woman. So when he marries this woman, he also at the wedding feast, he makes a wager basically with his in-laws. And he says, if I give you a riddle, because what happens during this time, Samson is on his way as he's traveling, he gets attacked by a lion, showing the strength of Samson. First superhero, like I told you, in my brain, he was the first superhero. Before I knew Superman, before I knew Batman, it was Samson. The lion attacks Samson, and Samson basically Samson grabs the mouth of the lion, and he basically breaks the jaw of the lion. And it says like it's nothing. Just breaks his jaw, kills the lion, and moves on about his way. On his way back, as he's traveling back, he sees the lion that he killed, and now bees have now made home in this lion, and now they have made honey. And you see how God has blessed that whatever Samson touches, regardless of, like I said, he's a flawed deliverer, regardless that he is now married outside of his race, but whatever Samson touches, God has anointed and God is blessing. So when he comes back, he sees bees all inside of this lion that he killed. And the bees have now made honey. And so Samson takes the honey, and it must have been delicious. And he takes that honey to his parents, never telling them where he got the honey from. God is blessing. allowed him not to get killed by the lion. And as he passed back through, delicious honey was created inside of the lion, which is amazing. So he marries this woman. He tells his in-laws about, he said, if you can answer my riddle. And he tells them, basically, once he tells them the riddle, they have so much time to try to figure it out, but they cannot figure out the riddle. But they continue to lean on his wife because they don't want to give up their prized possessions in order to pay Samson if they lose this bet. So she hounds and whines and begs and all these different things to tell her what the riddle means. And so he finally tells her what it means. When she tells him what it means, she goes back to her family and she tells them. And therefore he loses the wager. And so because he loses the wager, Samson doesn't just take the prize that he had, anything that he had. He goes out and basically kills the people, the Philistines. He goes and kills part of them to take what they have and give it to his in-laws. Which is also funny when you think about the story that Samson has an emotional problem also. When he gets enraged, he gets enraged. When he gets, anybody else have an issue? Sometimes we let our emotions take over of what we're doing. We let the heartache take over. We let the anger take over. We talk about it all the time about the road rage and when someone is doing us wrong. We let those emotions take over sometimes. And so those emotions had taken over Samson. As I'm just paraphrasing a bunch of these things. Please go back and read the book of Samson if you haven't. It's a fantastic read. It's, like I said, it's exciting. It's action packed, so it's wonderful. So he does he does these things, but then he leaves his wife. He's discussing with her, discusses with his in-laws. He's been betrayed, so he leaves his wife. After some time passes, he comes back. When he comes back, he's looking to sleep with his wife. He wants to go with his wife, but the father-in-law has already given the wife over to the best man. So he's enraged by that. It says Samson then takes some foxes and which I still think is a crazy vision. And he ties them bad boys together and basically sets them jokers on fire to make sure and burns the fields of grain and everything of these Philistines. Everything Samson is doing out of his rage, out of his emotions, everything that he is doing out of himself, it is the will of God. And it's crazy how to think about it in that way. God had a plan and God was doing something through all of these encounters. And I said it, and I want to encourage us as we encourage us to be leaders emotionally, spiritually, naturally, in our workplaces, in our relationships, whatever it might be. I want to encourage us that God is using what we have to not only show others something, but also to reveal something within us. I say that again, that God is using those things, what we're calling flaws and what we're calling all these different things. God is trying to use those things, use those opportunities, use those flaws to show someone else, to reveal something to someone else, but also to reveal something to us. So through this anger, through his emotions, through all these things, God is still moving, and everything that Samson is going through, every emotion that he's going through, every letdown, every disappointment, is always falling back and hindering the Philistines and not the Israelites. Over and over again, every time he gets frustrated, the Philistines are punished. Every time he gets mad, the Philistines, he doesn't have to go to war. They just keep irritating Samson, and then something bad happens to them. So he got upset and he set the field on fire. He left his wife because she disappointed him. So when he left, he was like, that's it. I'm going to go on about my business. But and when he came back, he was ready for his wife. But they had given him someone else. So that made him mad. So he set the fields on fire. What's even funnier is that when you continue to read, the Philistines were so upset because they were like, well, we can't destroy Samson because we know how strong he is. So now our fields are destroyed. So now we're going to take our anger out on his father-in-law and his wife. So they kill his father-in-law and his wife. Guess what? that angered Samson. So now Samson is upset, and now Samson goes and he begins. Now his rage is now taking over. Now he ready to kill some more folks. Because how dare you kill the wife that I left? And I didn't give you the authority to do those things. The Philistines are constantly being defeated. Verse chapter 15, we're going to read verses 7 through 20. I told you it's exciting. Verse 7 said, because you did this, Samson vowed, talking about they killed his wife, they killed his father-in-law. Because you did this, Samson vowed, I won't rest until I take revenge on you. So he attacked the Philistines with great fury and killed many of them. Then he went to live in a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines retaliated by setting up camp in Judah and spread it out near the town of Lehi. So he had already vowed to them. He already told them, and he started killing the Philistines. They keep doing stuff. Everything that they do, everything they think they're trying to win, they're trying to come over on, they're trying to fix something. Everything they're trying to do is falling apart. Why? Because at that point in time, God is with Samson and God is not with the Philistines. I want to encourage somebody today that a lot of things keep coming up against you. You continue to face some things. You continue to struggle with some things. These things come up against you, but I want you to understand that God is with you and not those things. Those things have a purpose, but God is with you and not those things. He's with you and not the challenges. He's with you and not the struggles. He's with you and not the pain. God is with you. So regardless of what those things do or how they come about, regardless if they're coming through another person, whether they're coming through another situation, regardless of what it is, God is not with them. God is not with that. God is with you. So regardless of what's happening, God is going to be with you. Verse 9, it said, the Philistines retaliated by settling in the camp in Judah and spreading out near the town of Lehi. So they're thinking okay, cool. We're upset with Samson. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go and attack and surround his people. Verse 10, the men of Judah asked the Philistines, why are you attacking us? The Philistines replied, we've come to capture Samson. We've come to pay him back for what he did to us. So 3,000 men of Judah went down to get Samson at the cave in the rock of Etam. They said to Samson, don't you realize the Philistines rule over us? Samson didn't care. But what Judah saw was that, don't you see that they rule over? Don't you see that those things control us? But that didn't matter to Samson. Why? Because he was favored by God. Don't you understand that we're all loved by God? That God sent his son Jesus to die, not just for me, not just for that person, but for as the world as a collective. That all it takes is a relationship with God, is a surrender to God. That it doesn't matter what rules. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter what is over us. It doesn't matter what the struggle is. It doesn't matter of the depression. It doesn't matter what the fear. None of those things matter because we serve God. So they asked, don't you know the Philistines rule over us? What are you doing to us? But Samson replied, I only did to them what they did to me. But the men of Judah told him, we have come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines. Samson said, all right, but promise that you won't kill me yourselves. We will only tie you up on the hand and hand you over to the Philistines, they replied. We won't kill you. So they tied him up with two new ropes and brought him up from the rock. As Samson arrived at Lehi, the Philistines came shouting in triumph. How many times do those individuals, or it seems like those things are winning, they see victory, but they don't see God? They see that they have overtaken you. They seem like they've said the right words. They've done the right things to tear you down, to put you in your place. Sometimes those emotions feel like they're winning. Those struggles feel like as if it is winning. And so what we do, we fall victim and say we serve the struggle. We serve the down words. We serve all these other things. But we're not looking at God. The Philistines saw that Judah had brought their champion. Not that the Philistines had captured it themselves, but his own people had brought him to us. What is a better sign or a bigger sign that we have got the victory? But they didn't see that everything that happened with Samson brought them to defeat. Because you know what I'm saying? It said, but the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson. I love that. The Spirit of God came upon Samson. I don't even know if Samson knew what was about to happen. I think Samson was like, cool, I deal with these people when I get there. Because when you look at Samson, he is a confident individual. I imagine Samson to be like, as the kids would love to say, 6'7". He's about 6'7", just all muscles, long hair, chiseled jaw, just beard for the ages. Just a man amongst men. You know, one of them dudes that walk in the room, you don't even have to know him. You've never met him. But when he walks into the room, someone said, you know what? I believe that's Samson. He's that guy. So Samson was now being carried into the hands of the Philistines. And they began to just shout of triumph as if they had won. But the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully over Samson. I believe when that Spirit of the Lord came over Samson, Samson had felt this before. The Spirit of the Lord, when you read the book of read about Samson, that phrase continues to come along. Every time he's about to face something, every time he goes and has to fight something, every time he faces a challenge, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson. And when that feeling came upon Samson, Samson was like, I already know what to do. I want us to get into a relationship with God to where we read our Bible, we're fasting and we're praying, and we get to those places that once we face a situation, once we face a challenge, that the Spirit of God, that we recognize that the Spirit of God is speaking to us and speaking through us and letting us know that you have the power to overcome what you're facing. So I believe a lot of times we are misguided and we do not understand that God is moving in a moment and we become subject to what we're facing. But I believe Samson knew the feeling and knew what came from the feeling. That though I am looking at an army, I'm looking at a bunch of men who are ready to kill me, even though I am outnumbered at this point in time, the Spirit of God has now moved so powerfully on me. I felt this before, and I know that the victory is at hand. So when the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, it said, and he snapped the ropes on his arms as if they were burnt strands of flax, and they fell from his wrist. Then he found the jawbone of a recently killed donkey. Can I encourage somebody that it doesn't matter? Just reach for your weapon. Don't matter what it looks like, reach for your weapon. The gifts that God gave you, the things that God has surrounded you with, you know, your mind, your words, your heart, your compassion, whatever it is, reach for the weapon. God can make it a battle axe. Reach for your weapon. He picked up the jawbone of a recently deceased donkey. You think that donkey died for no reason? That donkey had a purpose. Everybody overlooked the donkey. Now Samson is standing there in front of all of these men with no weapon. He don't have a sword. He don't have a slingshot. He don't have a shield or nothing. Everybody overlooked the dead donkey. The donkey had a purpose, y'all. So he picked up the jawbone from a recently deceased donkey. He picked it up and killed 1,000 Philistines with it. Your weapon can destroy the masses. Your weapon can take down. With the power of God coming upon you, understanding and realizing that God is at our back at every turn, your weapon can take down thousands. It can shatter walls. It can break through barriers. You as a leader, you as a child of God, you can break down and start something so new and do something so profound that people talk about it forever. Verse 16 said, then Samson said, with the jawbone of a donkey, I've piled them in heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey, I've killed 1,000 men. He is hyped. He is celebrating. Look at what I did. What someone would have never imagined I was able to do. He said, I've killed, verse 17. But what I love about this, we're going into verse 17. It said, when he finished his boasting, he threw away the jawbone. And the place was named Jawbone Hill. Verse 18, Samson was now very thirsty. He cried out to the Lord, you have accomplished this great victory by strength, by the strength of your servant. So I want to point it out that he was boasting. He was excited about what he was doing. He knew that what he had done, no one had ever done before. He probably shocked everybody. I imagine that while he's killing the Philistines with this jawbone, Judah is standing behind him just going, what is happening? And he begins to boast and look at what I have done. But what does he do after that? He's still a cocky individual, but what does he do in verse 18? He said, I'm now thirsty. And he cried unto the Lord, he acknowledges, you have accomplished this great victory by the strength of your servant. But then he goes back to his flawed ways and said, must I die of thirst and fall into the hands of these pagans? Because he understands and realized that the only way that I'm going to fall to them is if, God, you allow it to happen. Am I going to die of thirst? I did all this battling. I am tired. It's hot out here. Is this your will that I die out here of thirst? You accomplished this. But the only way I'm going to be taken down is by your hand. Verse 19. Again, he has his arrogance. But verse 19, so God caused water to gush out of a hollow in the ground at Lehi. And Samson was revived as he drank. Then he named that place the spring of the one who cried out. And it is still in Lehi to this day. Samson judged Israel for 20 years during the period when the Philistines dominated the land. Almost done on tonight. Almost finished on tonight. We're seeing the story. So now we're going to move on to verse 6. We're going to move over to chapter 16. And this is where everybody knows about Samson. Those who know about Samson. We move into the story about Samson and Delilah. Right? We move on to the story of Samson and Delilah. Chapter 16, verse 1 through 3. One day, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute. Just letting you know that Samson was doing whatever. Samson had his flaws. Samson has his issues, but yet Samson still has strength. There's still a connection to God, and God has not taken his hand off of Samson, because what he's doing, there is a purpose for it all. Another reason why I like about Samson as I grew older, it showed that not everybody, you look at a judge or you look at a pastor or you look at a priest or you look at a rabbi and you look at all those individuals and we put them on a pedestal and say that we can't reach that status or that's too high or we can't do it. But the story of Samson, and we look at Elijah and we look at as Dick Alexander say, Elijah and Elisha, and we look at all of the prophets and we look at the judge and we see that all the things that they've done and the apostles, and we're like, that's too high. That might be something I can't reach. But we see with Samson that he is just another individual, but God has a hand over his life, and God is using him. But the goal at the end is always to go back to God. To find out what God, what is it that you want me to do? But Samson is here. He's in Gaza and he's sleeping with a prostitute. Word soon spread that Samson was there, so the men of Gaza gathered together and waited all night at the town gates. They kept quiet during the night, saying to themselves, when the light of the morning comes, we will kill Samson. Anticlimactic as we go into verse 3. But Samson stayed in the bed only until midnight. Then he got up, took hold of the doors of the town gate, including the 2 posts, and lifted them up, bar and all. He put them on his shoulders and carried them away to put to the top of the hill across Hebron. Anticlimactic. The men waited on him to kill him, but God had already had a path and a plan. That he didn't have to fight, he didn't have to battle. He just did what he had to do, and he moved on out the way. Sometimes we won't even have to fight the battle. God will move us out the way. Those plans that other people set into motion will never come to fruition. Why? Because God has another plan. He has another path, and he will move us on that path to where we don't even see the danger. We don't even see the harm. I thank God all the time. Sometimes when I'm running, this is my reason. I tell myself that I'm running late for work or my alarm clock didn't wake me up, is that, there was something on the highway that the Lord did not want me to run into. That's what I tell myself. So there's a plan. There's things that's happening out there, and God has already worked it, and God has already moved it. So we know the story of Samson and Delilah. Samson gets with Delilah, and the Philistines have set this up again. The Philistines keep creating a plan to take down Samson. So they know that Delilah is beautiful. They know Samson loves how women look, and so they set it up. Let's get Delilah to get with Samson so we can figure out his secret. So he gets with Delilah, and it goes back and forth. She's trying to figure out what it is that gives Samson his secret, and she asks him for, what is it that gives you your strength, and Samson lets her know, if you tie me down with this type of rope, and so she ties him down, and then she calls out, here comes the Philistine, and he snatches out of those ropes. Then he's talking about if there's another style of rope. If you do it that way, then I promise you, then I won't have my strength. She goes, hey, the Philistines are on their way. He comes up and he pops up out of the rope. Then he tells her, if you braid my hair in these 7 different braids, 7 different plaits, I won't have my strength. And she braids his hair as he goes to sleep. Then wakes him up. Here comes the Philistines. He wakes up, snaps all the ropes, kills all the men. Constantly, there are people, every time, you realize this, that every time they try to set him up, people are dying. Samson is still, even though there's a plot to stop him, he continues to kill and continues to bring the children of Israel closer and closer from underneath oppression, from out of bondage. So the last time, after all the nagging and all of that type of stuff, and he finally told her, if you cut my hair, then when you cut my hair, I will lose all my strength, because from birth, he was told that I should never cut my hair. So she cut his hair while he was sleeping. They came and attacked Samson, and Samson, she told him, hey, they're coming to attack, and he woke up and he had no strength. Not only did they capture him, but they also they gouged out his eyes. So Samson was now weak and he was blind. But after they did all of that, so once they captured him, they were excited. Again, we've been here before. You think people don't learn and realize that God is with you. People will come and attack you and think that they are doing something. They forget that we've been in this story before, that this is a rerun. But at this moment in time, they swear that they have the victory. If your emotions, if your fear, if your doubt, if your depression, or it had a voice, or had a body, it would think that it has you again. But God has a plan, if you would only trust in him. Over and over again, as it comes up, and if we flood our system and flood our minds and floods our hearts, realize that we've been here before. We've done this already, and God has brought us through. He placed the right pieces into our life and shown us the path to go down that we might overcome. We've overcome before, and in God we can overcome again. So as we get down, they're feeling triumphant, and so now they bring the blind and weak man before them. And at this point in time, now all of Philistine is there to celebrate. Everyone is there, from kings to nobles to servants to just the common man. Everyone is there to celebrate the defeat of a man who has single-handedly, we have not read that Samson has gathered one army. It's just him causing havoc for Philistine. So as they bring them all together, verse 26, they bring them before all the people. Verse 26, chapter 16, verse 26. And we're going to go through 31, which finishes it off. It says, Samson said to the young servant who was leading him by the hand, place my hands against the pillars that hold up the temple. I want to rest them against them. Verse 27, now the temple was completely filled with people. All the Philistine rulers were there. And there were about 3,000 men and women on the roof who were watching as Samson amused them. This place was packed, and there were 3,000 people on the roof. Think about how massive this place was. Think about the noise and the cheers and the roars when he came into the room. There are people out there who will stand on a roof to see you fall. And you're not the only person. You're not the first person. You won't be the last. You go back and read this chapter, you see that there are people who will come from far and wide. There are individuals who will be inconvenienced just to see you fall. Just to see you fail. They'll love to see. They'll come from far and wide just to see you defeated. Verse 28, it said, and Samson prayed to the Lord. Here I am. He's praying to God. He's praying to the Lord. Now we've gotten to this point to where it doesn't matter what I've been through. It doesn't matter what I've done. It doesn't, all that point. He's now praying to God because he realized my job this entire time was to do the will of God. I've lived the life that I've wanted to live, but through it all, everything that I've done is for God. So now that I've come to the end, I have to go back to the source who started all of this. So then Samson prayed to the Lord, sovereign Lord, let it be known, not anyone else. I understand who you are. Sovereign Lord, remember me again. I know I've been disobedient. I told people about my hair, and that's why I'm in this situation. And because I'm in this situation, I have not felt your power come upon me. But remember me again. And we know that we're in some good prayers when you say sovereign Lord. And then as we move on today, it said, oh God, please strengthen me just one more time. With one blow, let me pay back the Philistines for the loss of my two eyes. Because again, what he is speaking now is that, God, I am asking you to punish the men and women that have hurt your chosen man. Give me the strength for victory. Can that be our prayer? Not to hurt people. Don't go to God to hurt people. But can we go to God and with a sincere heart and say, God, it is me again. Can you give me the victory one more time? In front of all of these people, in front of the doubters, in front of the haters, can you give me the strength to overcome my fear, to overcome my depression, to overcome my doubt, to overcome my addiction, to overcome my issues. Can you give me the strength one more time? Because he said, with one blow, let me pay back the Philistines for the loss of my 2 eyes. Then Samson put his hands on the 2 center pillars that held up the temple, pushing against them with both hands. He prayed, let me die with the Philistines. And I want to point that out because as he prayed this prayer, Samson began to push. He began to push. He prayed the prayer and then began to put in the work. As a leader, whatever circumstance, whatever place that we are, sometimes we have to say the prayer and then begin to put in the work and begin to move as if the prayer is already answered. And then pray that God responds in the midst of our actions. And from what we're seeing about the read, we see that God shows up in prayer and God shows up when we put forth the action. He said, pushing against them with both hands, he prayed, let me die with the Philistines. And the temple crashed down on the Philistine rulers and all the people. So he killed more people when he died than he had during his entire life. Later, his brothers and other relatives went down to get his body. They took him back home and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, where his father Manoah was buried. Samson had judged Israel for 20 years. For 20 years, by himself, Samson was a havoc for the Philistines. The other judges we saw, when they went into war, they gathered armies and all of these different things. 20 years, Samson was a thorn in the Philistine side. I want to encourage you on tonight that you are enough. God can work with what you have. Grab your weapon. Be encouraged, be strengthened, be focused. Have a prayer life, have a relationship. Realize that you are flawed. We are all flawed. But we should have our foundation in Jesus Christ. We have our foundation in God. Because we're all going through troubled times. Times right now are not easy. But yeah, with guidance and with strength, with relationship with God, we can focus on it. We can focus on what we need to take care of, and we can make it through it all. I hope you enjoyed this Bible study. Please go back and read the book of Judges. I promise it is a wonderful book. I like to try to come and visit Judges in the Bible study at some point in the Bible study or in some message throughout the year, because there's so many lessons in which we can learn from it, and it's a fun book. I hope you all will be blessed. Again, join us on next week for the Book of Esther for the trivia night. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be amazing. Again, send your text message to Pastor May and tell him to get in front of this camera and let's go. Father, we thank you on tonight. We thank you for who you are. We thank you for this opportunity and this chance. We thank you for the vision. We thank you for clarity. We thank you for all that you have done throughout this entire series. We ask that you would allow your people to grow stronger. I hope something was said, Father. I pray and ask that something was said that would change a mind, a heart, a soul, that would encourage a mind, a heart, a soul, a life. I ask that you would continue to move, not only in this place, not only in those who watch it online, but those that this message might reach, and all those who have received it into their communities, into their families, into their circumstances, into their situation. May something shift and may something change, that you might be glorified and you might be lifted up. We honor you and we thank you, and we call all these things done right now in your matchless name we pray. Amen. Good night.